Welcome everyone to the Pommy and Fazz EPL show. We're back. Round ball starts in 7 days, but it also starts on Monday, the Charity Shield, or the Community Shield as we now know it. As always, I'm Pom, joined by my co-host, Mr. Fazman. How are you doing?
Very good, mate. Very good. The real stuff. The real stuff is just around the corner. Most of us use AFL to just whet our appetite during the off season, but it's about to kick off. 7 days, and as you said, the Community Shield, or as I like to call it, another chance for Arsenal to bottle a trophy, starts on Monday. So I'm very, very pumped for it.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, it's the Community Shield, something that's got less and less importance as the years have gone on. When I was a kid, this was like the first chance to draw blood. It was almost like there was something quite poignant in it when it was the top two sides going at it. Invariably, it was because everyone won doubles when I was a kid. It was like the first time to really see who's good, but it's almost like a glorified pre-season game now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like for AFL fans, the Wizard Cup or the whatever you call it. It's just what it is, and yeah, look, I enjoy it, mainly because my team's never in it, but it just, you can have the banter, and you can't really win either way. If you win it, no one cares. If you lose it, people sink your boots in. So it's a nothing game, but hey, it's around the corner, and that's what's the most important. We're ready to go.
Mate, it is indeed, and we're here. We're going to do the first 12 because next week we have to fit in tips as well. Mental. It comes around so fast, but we start with Arsenal, and Jack is here for your hot takes on Arsenal. He is here, but what have Arsenal done? Arsenal obviously been very active in the off-season. As we know, Declan Rice, your mate, he comes in.
Yep.
Jerin Timber, great name. And surprisingly, probably the most bizarre transfer I've ever seen, 65 million for Kai Havertz, which when that's banter. I'm going to be honest, that one is raw to fail. But what do you think of their off-season? Obviously, they're trying to catch City. They nearly did. They've brought players in. What do you think?
Yeah. Look, Havertz is a weird one. I don't get it. I don't think they need him. It just makes no sense. Declan Rice makes sense. He's the best midfielder in England. They've got an absolute superstar. I don't care what any Arsenal fan says. He will be their next captain. Don't give me your Ugur and all that bullshit. Declan Rice will be Arsenal's next captain. So that's a great pickup. Timber, brother of Shivamy. He unproven in the Prem, and we'll see how he goes. I'm not sure if he's a right back, centre back, can play a bit of both. I'm interested to see how he goes in the big-bodied Prem. But to me, Declan Rice stands out above all as their summer. They will stand out. Out and say, "Oh, look at the money we've spent. Look at the players we've brought in." But really, Declan Rice is the only one that stands out. Pressure's on. I actually don't rate their transfer window as highly as what people will say it is, for the reasons I said. But we'll see. And yeah, I know Arsenal fans love Odegaard, or Declan Rice is the man. He'll be their captain, 100%. He's the best midfielder in the world, let alone,
Jesus,
he's
Fazz.
the man.
No, yeah, you still love him. You still love him.
I do, mate. I hope Arsenal get relegated, but Declan Rice wins the Ballon d'Or. Like that's the reality. I love Declan Rice, right? He's that's what it is. Now that he's gone, I hope he doesn't succeed against West Ham. But the reality is, he's Arsenal's best player now. You know why? Because he's the best player in the Premier League, and now he's Arsenal's best player. So, good luck to him.
Well, Amy asks if the Raya deal goes through, and that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because obviously Ramsdale is the current number one. Rumors are this is 40 million, right? 40 million. And I've got to agree with my esteemed United colleague here, Mark Goldbridge, who said you don't spend 40 million on a backup goalkeeper. So there's a lot of talk coming out of the Emirates that Arteta wants a ball-playing goalkeeper, and he's identified Raya, as we know, has been supreme at Brentford. Do you think this one causes a bit of an issue here?
You know what? Mikel Arteta may as well shave his head bald. If he just wants to copy Pep that much, like, if Pep takes a shit 3 times a day, Mikel better do the same thing. I mean, he's such a copycat. Do your own thing, bro. You've just spent £40 million on a goalkeeper when you had a perfectly good one. You're a moron. Like, yeah, this honestly, this is only going to end in disaster. It's only going to end in disaster because someone's not going to be happy, and it's going to be Ramsdale, and he's got a face like a slapped ass at the best of times. So what is he going to look like when he is sitting on the bench? Mate, you talk about habits. This is the most ridiculous transfer I think I've seen. Why? I don't get it. Why?
Mate, I'm with you. Like I agree with Ethan here. I actually think that Ramsdale should be England's number 1. I thought Ramsdale was sensational, and I would go as far to say, I know Arsenal fans said Saliba was the reason they got up to the top of the ladder and the league and stuff. I actually think Ramsdale, for a point in time, 30 games, was the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, and there's probably a shout that the form he was in that middle part just after the World Cup and before it, he might have been the best goalkeeper in the world, because some of them saves were absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, no, look, and that sort of thing, and I know it's I don't have a beef with Arsenal. I really don't. I don't care for them. Being a London rival, I certainly don't care for him. I'm just calling it as I see it. Ramsdale is a bloody good keeper. He would be my choice, hands down. So it just doesn't make sense to me. We'll see how it plays out. Maybe Arteta's got a plan up his sleeve. I don't know. Is there a way you can play 2 goalkeepers? Who knows? Who knows? But what we do know is whatever Pep does, Arteta will do. So we watch what Pep does first, and then we'll see what Arteta does.
I'm looking forward to seeing Ramsdale lead the line as they try and do a good win and fit 2 random players into the side. Well, obviously they finished second last year. Consensus, the bookies and the pundits have them second. Fazz has gone 4th. I've gone 3rd. So Fazz, you've got them dropping a lot. What do you see with Arsenal?
I think that the pressure is on them dramatically. No, I didn't. Amy, that's very funny. No, I didn't. It was actually a glitch. I didn't block Arsenal fans, but yeah, good call.
It was just Arsenal fans.
Yeah, that was random. No, damned on harm. I had like 150 people blocked. It was so weird. Look, I think there's no club going into the Premier League season with more pressure on them than Arsenal. They talked a big game, and rightfully so. They had a really, really good season. But the reality is they didn't win a single thing. They didn't hold a single trophy. So you can't talk a big game and not have something to show for it. I think the pressure is going to be on them massively. And I'm not convinced that they can handle that pressure. So this, I'm happy to be proven wrong, but this 4th is purely only because of what I've seen of them basically in the last, however many years. They bottled the Premier League. It was unlosable, and they bottled it when the pressure was on. Now the pressure is going to be on from ball 1. From Monday morning, the pressure is going to be on them, and I don't think they'll handle it. So that's why I think they'll drop to 4th, which is still a pretty good result, all things considered, given the fact I think they're going to bottle it dramatically.
It is indeed. I mean, I agree with Ethan here. I actually think this is something that people forget as well. When Champions League, because I think Newcastle are in the same boat. It's all right when you're focusing on one major title, but when that Champions League comes, when you get to the knockout stages, we've seen it before with other clubs, that prestige, thank you, Mrs. Pom, gets to them, doesn't it? Like that pressure, it is a long season, and I think Amy's right. They've got a few injury concerns at the minute. We saw what happened when Partey died in the middle of the year last year. It really ruined them. It's going to be interesting because City are hard to catch, aren't they? Let's be honest. But
they are.
I'll give Arsenal a compliment. I will give Arsenal a compliment. They got 25 million for Xhaka, which I think is 20 million too much. Like, that is great transfer.
Yeah, and rightfully so. But I do think it's the squad. It's got to do with the squad. Man City are able to do what they did because of their squad. And for Arsenal, do they have the depth? Does it bat deep? We don't know, and you're only going to know when it occurs. But I think they're going to have to pick one to focus on, whether it's to win the league or the Champions League. They're going to have to pick one and just go all in, because Declan Rice, as an example, he was promised trophies. Well, no point finishing second and then getting bundled out in the semi-finals of the Champions League and all this. You've got to win one of them. Everyone wants to do doubles and trebles and all this stuff like that. That's unrealistic. Pick one, focus on one, win that one, build into the following season.
Well, they'll be there or thereabouts. I think we can agree on that.
100%.
They're going to be. And I mean, trust me, I'd love to see someone other than City win it. But I mean,
hey, and do not get me wrong. It's not you'll see when we get to Man City next week or whenever it is, but today, whatever. But no one wants to see a team win it 4 times in a row or 5. Like, no one wants to see that, please. So it's not a hoping Arsenal fail. It's just calling it as you see it.
No, mate, I appreciate it. I think it's going to be tough for them. And we've got a team here. We know Peter Hayward's in chat. His boys, Villa. We talk about Arsenal. Unai Emery is their coach, and he basically turned them from a relegation side to that. I mean, if the season went on a bit longer, we could be talking about Villa being in the UEFA Cup. Do you know what I mean? Like, they were blitzing the back end of the year. And transfer-wise, I think they've actually bought well. They got Tielemans for free, who arguably is Leicester's best player. Pau Torres comes in from Villarreal, the centre-back. And Moussa Diaby, I think, is an absolute sexy signing as well. And they've spent well. They've got better. I reckon these could be a little bit of a dark horse for teams this year.
Interesting, Villa. Something poetic about talking about Unai Emery after just talking about Arsenal. A little bit of sliding doors moments there, but there's something a bit poetic about Villa as well, with the fact that similar to, and I'll say this about West Ham, they're kind of everybody's second team. You look at Villa, you kind of want them to do well. I love how they've spent. I love what they're about. My only concern is that, and it says in my prediction of where they finish, is that new manager bounce. Yes, it lasted a while, but your new season, a pre-season, what's the message? And Emery, he has a history. He does have a history of not being able to get consistency. So we'll see. I've got him there and thereabouts. 8th. Call me old splinter butt, because I am sitting on the fence with them. 8th is really because I don't know how high they can go, but I don't really think they're going to go low. But they're going to be fun to watch, and I think that's important. They're going to be very fun to watch.
Mate, Peter Bold here, the battle of the Maroons, the battle of the Clarets. But I was the same as you. I didn't know how they'd perform. Like, obviously, going from Steven Gerrard, who was, let's be honest, a mitigated disaster at Villa, I thought Emery just opened them up, made them play exciting football. And I always do think in the Premier League, if you get a manager going from very stagnant to very exciting, you get quick results as other teams adjust. Now teams know what Emery's going to be doing. So it's not going to be a shock. They know what to expect. I think 9th's a solid position for him, to be fair. I don't think that's any disrespect to...
No, it's not.
Because I think there's 8 teams who are paying triple the fees above, and it is a money game.
And the thing that we haven't mentioned, we mentioned before, is being involved in European football is a fucking killer to your squad. Take it from me, it is a killer to your squad. Are they in the conference, or what are they? Which one are they in?
The UEFA Conference League. I mean, it's the only real European trophy.
Cool. Well, obviously. So to Peter Hayward, they probably will outperform West Ham in the Premier League conference. we're in Europa League, so I don't really look down to the conference teams at the moment. Great trophy to win, but it takes a real special team to win the Europa Conference, and I don't know if Villa are that team. We'll see, but it takes a real special team to win that trophy. I can tell you that right
now. I've got to say, I
can't keep a straight face.
I have enjoyed your happiness at being European champions.
I haven't slept since the game.
The European champions, I tell you, you can't take that away from. But I mean, I do like Villa are that team. Do you know what I mean? Like they're that team that if they finish bottom half, I would be the same amount of shocked as if they finished in the top 6. Not very. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, because their team is solid, and if they can stay fit, that 11 can compete with any of the 11 in the Premier League. And they played some sexy football last year. It's got to be said. I did enjoy watching Villa play football under Emery last year.
No, they're good to watch. They're good to watch, and yeah, it's that excitement, the up and about, the first time in European football for a while, and you're right. Like that first time, they will have that buzz for a little while. Unfortunately, Peter, it's when you do go back-to-back European campaigns that it does kind of hit you a little bit. So this first one, it's a bit of fun. Give it a go. But I like Villa, and like you said, you make the perfect point. If that's why I went with 8. Like I said, it's a real fence-sitting spot because I can't put my finger on it until I start seeing how seriously Emery's going to take the conference. And in my opinion, if I was a Villa fan, just being a West Ham fan, I would rather, like West Ham did, I would rather Villa finish 13th, 14th and lift a trophy. Because seriously, if you're not in it to lift a trophy, then why are you even bothering watching? I don't care what people say about it. They've got to put a priority on winning that Conference League trophy to get into Europa League next season and have a mid-table finish. That's why I put them at 8th.
No, I agree. And I think it's a statement of intent as well. Their transfers, like Diaby is sexy. He's a sexy footballer. And I was surprised some of the bigger clubs didn't go after him. So
agreed.
They're obviously going for it. Yeah. If Villa win the Conference League, it'd be the first time in history 2 different English sides. I'll tell you what, claret and blue. You're limited with options.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've
got Scunthorpe and you've got Burnley,
West Ham and Villa. Yeah, it's not really the
might be another one out there.
Creme de la creme of football clubs. But yeah, Peter, you're right. It's you've got to prioritize winning the trophy. That's what you want. I can tell you now, I've supported this sport my entire life, and it was the happiest moment of my life when West Ham lifted that trophy that no one else cares about, but I care about. You won't give 2 squirts of piss if you finish 13th or 14th, you're lifting that trophy, just like I don't care. So yes, come on the Villa, take that trophy. And you know what? When it comes to European competitions, we all support the English teams. Like we're all for them. So come on the Villa, get that European trophy, and fuck those shit teams in Spain and Italy and wherever they are, because the European trophy should be ours always.
It was, I've got to admit, you have dined out on that European trophy, Fazz. Yeah, you have dined out on it. I mean, heaven forbid West Ham ever win the Champions League. I will leave. I will leave the country momentarily. But we go on to another team that I think are really hard to work out. And 15th last year were Old Bournemouth. Surprisingly, the bookies have them 10th, which I don't see it. You had them relegated, so did I, which made me feel bad. I don't see it now. They've got Arala, their new coach in. They've gone real Spanish flair. Transfer-wise, Justin Kluivert coming in when 3 years ago he was linked to United is bizarre. They've brought in Traore from Sassuolo and then brought a couple of Frenchmen from the French league. Haven't really spent big, but they are one of them sides, aren't they, that I'd say one of them sides that you don't hate. do you? You kind of want them to win.
Yeah, they're an interesting team. I had them tipped relegated last season, and I was wrong on that. So I'll go. I just went again. One thing that I did find interesting, and whether it's a positive or a negative, I'm not sure yet, but it's a good show of intent, is the fact that they sacked their manager, Gary O'Neill. They sacked him post-season, and not just post-season, a little bit past post-season. Very similar to, for our AFL supporters, very similar to the Brett Ratton being sacked by St Kilda. That was a strange move for me, because I thought Gary O'Neill did a bang-up job. I thought he was fantastic for him. So clearly they saw something that they didn't like. So bringing in a different manager, new manager bounce, what type of style they're going to play. I just look at their squad lined up, and I think that's a relegation team. Do you know what I mean? Like, you look at it and say that's a team that probably belongs in the championship, which is why I have them at 18th. So
I think you nailed it. I found it weird when they brought in, because I thought O'Neill is that kind of manager that I think he keeps you in the Premier League. Like, we'll come on to Wolves next week, but I think Wolves make that mistake. They go this Spanish Portuguese flair, having this like thought process they can turn them into Sevilla, right? But in reality, in the Premier League, you either have the money to buy class players, or you make a rigid side that is tough to break down. And I think Bournemouth have made a mistake. I think O'Neill had a chance to keep them in. I think this bloke here is going to be gone by January, and they're going to be 20 points away from safety.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I won't mention them again because people will have a go. But you're exactly right. I've witnessed going through that phase of sacking a rigid manager for some flair and it going completely tits up until getting the manager you need. And I think sometimes teams try and go too fast. They try and run before they can walk. You need to solidify your position in the Premier League for 3, 4, 5 seasons, and then add those layers on top. Bournemouth are going to end up and down, up, down, up, down. Look, on face value, it's the wrong move, but we'll see how it goes. And again, like you said, I've got nothing against them. I enjoy. West Ham have them first game of the season, so I'll get a first-hand look straight up. I hope they do well, but I just can't see them breaking out of that bottom 3.
Mate, you're spot on, Eye of the Tiger. They've stayed there, but I think they've stayed there because they've had good, solid Premier League or gritty managers.
They had Eddie Howe for a while, yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I think bringing in a Spanish-flared coach, not for me. Yeah. I feel like this could be their downfall. Their downfall quickly. But talking about teams that are Premiership caliber, Thomas Frank's side, like, these are a side that I think, when we were just talking about Bournemouth, they have done it right, Brentford. They have bought well. You can see Thomas Frank sticks with the remit that he knows. He buys the style of player he understands. They've never been a side, I don't think, as well, who's fallen into the trap of paying 50 million for some Portuguese player for banter. They go with low transfer fees of around that 15, 20 million mark and get the players in that suit Thomas Frank's system. And I think these are like the most mid-table side you'll ever see. I think Brentford have found their level. We're just waiting for them to go up to the next level.
Yeah, I think, again, there's a big glut of teams, and we speak about it most years. You tend to have your top 6 and a couple of little hang about, and your bottom 3 with a couple of little hang about. But your middle, it's such a... With that Villa, put them at 10th, but they could finish 7th, but they could also finish 15th. Like, they're in that real glut of teams. And I put them 10th because I just have the faith. I have the faith they've stuck with the manager. They're making good signings. Yes, Ivan Toney is, I don't know, when's he back? What's he doing? He's a really up in the air, that one, with his suspension. But
it's a gamble,
just like what Yeah, yeah. Yes, good one. I like it. It's a real gamble what we do. But he just I like what they do. I like the cut of their jib. I really enjoy watching them. I think they're fun to watch, and yeah, I think 10th is a good result for them if they can get that for sure.
Yeah, I think 10th is fair. I went 13th. I just feel that a lot of the sides have recruited incredibly well. Like I looked at that. I think there's a log jam. I think there's the best 4 clubs in the country. 5 and 6 probably a bit better than the rest. And then from 7th to 12th, I think you are depending on someone coming from nowhere and then also someone just being bought that you've never heard of becoming a superstar. The difference between the breaking 7th and 14th, 15th, I think is a real logjam. And Thomas Frank, it'd be interesting to see what he does because the pressure will start to come that I think now they're coming into that situation that we're so used to seeing them there that a string of bad results suddenly becomes big news.
Yeah, you're right, and it's all about that consistency, that grinding those results. But I think well put together club, top to bottom. I can see them not getting the heights of Leicester as far as winning. I don't think that'll happen, but I can see them being like a Brighton and a Leicester, not winning it, but just being that club that just sticks around, top 10, the occasional top 6, top 10. I can just see them really being in the Premier League for the next generation. They just become one of those clubs, which is fantastic. That's really good for them.
Be interesting. I mean, they've got Romeo Beckham there, so whether we see the return of Bex, but they are a model football club, and it's going to be interesting. And you mentioned Brighton. I'm a big fan of Brighton, and Roberto De Zerbi, I think, is the most underrated football coach in the country because taking over from Potter, who, let's be honest, he worked wonders at Brighton. That's one of them jobs that when a long-term manager leaves, who's had too much success at a shit club, see David Moyes at Everton. Do you know what I mean? Overachieved. It's very hard to replicate that. And De Zerbi has probably made Brighton better because the way they play football, they show no respect. They play their way. They play like a top 4 football club. Like, I watch them and they play like City, Arsenal. They dictate the game and they don't have the talent, but they will play football in a sexy way. And I think 8th is fair. You've gone 9th. The bookies think 8th, 6th last year. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to call it now. They recruit someone in January and the back end of this window. I wouldn't be surprised to see them sneak 5th or even 4th.
Yeah, I hate that I put them 9th. I hate it. I like what they do. I think I'm going to every season waiting, expecting. I don't know what it is. They're full. You just think that one season they're just going to drop away. And I put them 9th. I hate that. I really like what they do in a ladder that I did about a month ago. I think I had them 6th, I think. But
I thought the best ladder was where you had Arsenal 12th.
Yeah, that was a good ladder. But no, so I think look, there's just something about them that they're solid at home. They get the job done. They break teams down, but I'm just waiting. That inevitable. We see it a lot. That there's always that inevitable fall with these types of clubs, and we'll see because you can't. I know someone said before that their recruiting and sale model is admiration of many clubs, right? Great. The problem you got there is the word sale. You cannot be a selling club in modern football. You just can't. Look what happened to Leicester. You just simply can't be like, oh, we'll sign him for this and then sell him when they're at their highest, because you've got to keep the investments rolling, and you've got teams signing midfielders for £100 million. And if you're not going to keep up, you're going to continue selling your players. You're just going to go nowhere. You'll either stagnate or you'll drop. So when I see teams becoming selling clubs and they get praised for it, oh, look at the profit they've made. That's not what football's about. It's not about making the profit. It's about getting up that table. And I'm not sure becoming that selling club is going to be the best thing for them. Leicester proves it.
I agree.
Can't do it.
I mean, so to be fair though, you know, they made some transfers this year that I really did like the James Milner acquisition. I really like. And Ethan asked about Caicedo. We know Chelsea, evidently the financial fair play doesn't count anymore. If you're Chelsea.
When they can sell Havertz for 65 million, Arsenal just bailed them out.
Well, I mean, also the Saudi League is doing a great favor because if you're 30 years old and play for Chelsea, they will pay good money. But I do like the fact that I don't think De Zerbi gets enough credit as well, because Caicedo was pretty much driving to Arsenal in January. Like he didn't want to play for the club anymore. I thought the way that De Zerbi first called him out and said that he won't play for this football club again if he acts like that, then integrated him back into the side, and if anything made Caicedo a better footballer, shows the wonderful man management of De Zerbi, because that's a tough position, because Brighton don't have, usually, if a player of that ilk wants to leave, you're fucked. But I love the way De Zerbi handled that. He didn't relent to Arsenal's demands. He kept the player. And to be fair, finishing 6th last year, Caicedo was a huge part of that.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll see how that goes again. If he stays. So, it's always a watch this space.
I am looking forward, though, for how João Pedro, who they got from Watford, to probably score 25 and become... Who was the Fulham player we hated last year? We kept slagging him off.
Mitrovic.
Can't wait for Pedro to be the new Mitrovic.
Mitrovic is a good player.
Well, we talk about teams that are hard to pin down. Burnley, obviously, the champions of the Championship. Vincent Kompany, familiar name in the Premier League. He is, tell you what, watching a few Burnley games last year and seeing Tiki-Taka in the Championship just made me feel a bit physically sick, to be honest. That's not how you play in the Championship. But to be fair to Burnley, they're playing very good football. They play a brand that's exciting. Now, Kompany's probably overachieved. They've brought in James Trafford, the highly touted goalkeeper. They've got Nathan Redmond, Premiership experience. They've brought in a lot of Premier League experience as well. They've also gone with them token overseas players that could be anything. Kalesho comes in from Espanyol and Amadabi from Basel. Interesting, isn't it? Because he's a young coach, and I always think this is one of them. I don't know how you feel, Fazz. Kompany's basically now in the shop window for a bigger club, isn't he?
Yep. Basically, yeah. It would be rude of us not to compare this conversation to the Bournemouth conversation about having a manager. I'm not going to say it's easy to do what Vincent Kompany did, because it's certainly not. It's the hardest league in the world, the Championship. However, if he thinks he's going to be able to play football like that in the Premier League, he'll sooner get the sack before getting another job. You can't play like that with a Championship team in the Premier League. You simply can't. I've got them at 12th because traditionally the teams who win the Championship by that ridiculous amount tend to have a really good season first up and then drop. But it would not surprise me one bit if he's gone, either to a bigger club or whatever. I'm backing his intelligence and his knowledge of the Premier League to know he has to change his game style, because if they play the way they played in the Championship, in the Premier League, mate, they won't get 10 wins. They won't get 7 wins because they'll get battered.
It's going to be interesting.
We've
seen a lot of clubs come into the Championship, haven't we, playing a philosophy. And when you're away to West Ham, or you're away to Man United, or you're away to City, surprising how quickly these philosophies bite you in the arse in it, because Brighton have been the exception to the rule under Potter, who had that framework and how to play, but he was very adaptable in the Premier League, very adaptable, and they kind of reset when he took them to the Premier League and became a more boring possession-based side, and then gradually got some confidence. I put them 15th for the same reason as you. I reckon as soon as someone gets sacked, which they will, from a top 8 side, Kompany is gone, right? And I think when that happens, they'll go free fall.
I'll tell you now, Vincent Kompany will be the West Ham manager by November.
They are.
Write it down. Write it down. Vincent Kompany will be the West Ham manager by November. It's going to happen. And I don't like it because you just can't play that style of football. If Burnley rock up to the London Stadium playing that way, I'll be like, light work, feet up, West Ham 5-0 with a 20% possession, because you can't play it. It just does not work unless you've got the players, and he doesn't have the players. Right? It's going to be interesting. Put him 12. I put him 12th. It sounds stupid what I'm saying. I put him 12th because I think, like I said, they won the championship by that much. They will be on that high. But no, no, he's not. But what I'm saying is David Moyes will be sacked by November, Amy, is what I'm saying. And then West Ham's a bigger club than Burnley. So, yeah, I hope for their sake and for his sake that he's smart enough and he's knowledgeable enough to say, oh, we can't play that way. And we'll know straight up. We'll get a good idea of it straight away. So, yeah, we'll see.
And obviously, Vincent Kompany, if he comes to West Ham, he can do something that he never did at City and be a European champion.
Yay! Do you
know what I mean? Hey, that put a cat amongst the pigeons. Now, I thought these were the hardest team to judge.
Really?
Because Chelsea 12th last year, right?
Mate.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
Shocking season. Like
the
only thing I enjoyed about Chelsea last year was the fact that they brought Frank Lampard in for the last 8 rounds, which was the most Chelsea thing I've ever seen Chelsea do. Like, I couldn't. I was in stitches every game Frank Lampard came back. It was probably my favourite moment of 2023, to be honest. Probably even if Carlton play finals, Frank Lampard is still number 1 for me in 2023. Because it was so funny to me. But what did you think, Fazz, of last year? It was disappointing, wasn't it?
Oh, mate, it was utter dog shit. And I do feel I felt for Graham Potter. I really did. He was sold a lemon, mate, and he went there and failed. But I found them easy to pick. I think they're going to be I've got them 3rd, and that's being quite held back. I think they're going to be awesome. Simply, really? they got no European football at all. So it's just simply Premier League. This was what I was talking about Arsenal before. Pick one, focus on it. They're going to focus on the Premier League. They've got 38 games. Let's play 38 games. They've got the team to do it. I don't care what anyone says. They've got good players. It's Chelsea, for fuck's sake. They've got good players. They've sold some players. They're going to bring some players in. They're going to be awesome. And in my opinion, Pochettino, any manager who can get Tottenham up and running is a god amongst men, because they're the biggest fuck show on the planet. So any manager who can get Tottenham up and running is a god amongst men. So in my opinion, outside of Pep, Pochettino is the best manager in the Premier League. Right? They're going to be awesome. They're going to be awesome. 3rd, wouldn't surprise me if they got 2nd.
Fazz. I mean, I had them 6th. I think they'll be better. I've got it this way, right? This is my thought, and Eye of the Tiger, Eye of the Moment nails it for me. I just look at that squad, and it is just there's still so much shit there. And I have got no doubt in my mind that Potter, like you say, got sold a lemon. I reckon that dressing room is in disarray. And I look at, I agree, Poch is a great manager, but I think at Paris, struggle to handle the egos. You are going to Chelsea, and I look at the players that are still there. These guys are fucking villainous. Like they will turn on him, and unless he gets players gone quickly, which doesn't seem to be happening because they're still demanding fees. It's going to be interesting. I do think, though, to back you up, Fazz, they've recruited incredibly well. I think that Nicholas Jackson looks ready-made, and Gunku, I'm shocked it's taken 2 years for him to make his way to the Premier League. Marvellous footballer. And I think Diassi is basically what they hoped Fofana was before they realised Fofana's knees are made out of the same thing McGovern's hamstrings are made out of. But I thought 6th was fair. But I agree with you. No Champions League, no Europe. It does make it easy because the teams they're competing with are playing 3 competitions.
They'll take the piss, mate. They will take the piss. It might start off a bit rocky, but once the European games get up and running, mate, the luxury of playing 1 game in 7 days or whatever it is just, mate. And I back Poch. I back him in. I think he's just, like you said, he could handling the egos at PSG. Right. I'll wear that. They do have egos there. But I think it's a level 1 step below. Like the egos at PSG are the biggest egos in the world. I think this are maybe just a bit under here. I think he'll do well. Like I said, if he can get Tottenham up and going, mate, this will be light work for him.
Mate, you're here now, Ben. That's all that matters. But Chelsea, no, I agree. I think Faz, I'll take your comments on board. I think you're right. I didn't really put too much onus on that, but you are right. Particularly when we get to the knockout stages of Europe and you look at the teams that are going to be fighting. Liverpool's depth, I don't think is huge anymore. No. United's depth isn't exactly world class because before you know it, we're bringing back Fred, McTominay, and Maguire when we have injuries. So obviously Chelsea are going to have a full list 7 days where them teams are going to be playing 4 competitions spaced over 7 days, which does add up. So I think Chelsea might be that team. I still don't think. I still think there's something missing there, and I think they're buying their way out of trouble, and I think that'll end in disaster.
Yeah, and they're in big trouble when it comes to finances. But yeah, we'll just don't sleep on them. That's all I'll say. Don't sleep on Chelsea,
mate. I agree. And another one of your rivals. Tell you what, there's a lot of London teams in the Premier League, but we've got Palace, and amazingly, Roy Hodgson, a man that. I feel like Roy Hodgson has been retirement age for the last 45 years, to be honest. Like he just seems like he's been old since he came out of the womb. But obviously Palace last year, let's be honest, Roy Hodgson evidently is the master of turning an average club into average.
Just above average.
Yeah, above average. And Faz, you've gone with 11th. I've gone with one below the bookies, 14th. Bookies have them 13th. And I was surprised when I was doing the research for this show. They have brought fuck all players in, right? But I'm just going to read you some names of players they've lost. Wilfred Zaha, who, let's be honest, has been their best player for the last 10 years. James McArthur, Mihalovic has gone, Jack Butland. All these players have played nearly every game under Hodgson. And then they've brought no one in. Like they brought Lerma in from, who wasn't even best 11, and Bournemouth. So I don't know what they're doing. They have to do a late splurge, but I think everyone who finished 10th to 1 has got better. And everyone who finished 12th to 14th has got better. So unless Roy Hodgson's got a new trick after 200 years of coaching, I think they're in trouble.
Crystal Palace are the perfect example of what we've spoken about before with Bournemouth and then Burnley. And that's how, what was the bloke in charge? Yeah, I was tip of my tongue. What was his name?
Which
ex-manager. Crystal Palace, their ex-manager got sacked for Hodgson. The French bloke, yeah. It was on the tip of my tongue. Vieira. Proof's in the pudding. Vieira is too good for Crystal Palace. His game style was too good for Crystal Palace. All they had was Zaha and Eze. But look, I've seen wet shits that I prefer to talk about than Crystal Palace. So I'm going to make it quick. I've got them 11th because I just think they've got enough quality around the ball. Roy Hodgson will set up 15 men behind the ball. They've got enough in Eze, Olise, very good attacking players. I think they're going to bum that many 1-0ers that I think they'll just be that team that, you're not going to get out of bed to watch them. You're going to check their scores. And you're like, shit, how did they end up there? Because they'll have a run of draws. I don't think they'll lose many. They'll just have a run of draws and shit results. And I agree with Amy. The best thing about Crystal Palace is the fact that they were used for that mildly hilarious show in Ted Lasso. So, yeah.
Can I just say, Ted Lasso fucks me off because I am sick of seeing that hashtag believe sign. Like, I cannot believe that has I see it at the AFL nearly every game, and I'm like, I have never seen a fictional TV show be used as inspiration in reality. Like, I would rather someone quote Kim Kardashian on Keeping Up with the Kardashians and have that as a sign at a sporting event. Like, honestly, it scares me because I see people watch Ted Lasso and then think that's how sport is. And they're like, we just go into a dressing room, wishy-washy, give each other hugs, kisses on the forehead, and you become a good side. And I'm like, that's not how it works. If you did that in the Premier League, you would get relegated, but people would be happy you got relegated, right? That's all that would happen. It wouldn't make you a top 3 side.
No, you're right. And nothing would please me more. Look, let's be serious. A couple of things would please me more. But I would love to see Crystal Palace get relegated. Just goodbye. Get out of the Premier League. You're boring to watch. You got an ugly ground. Your kit is shit. Get out of you've lost your best player. Get out of the Premier League and do us all a favor. Having said, I think they'll annoy me and stick around like they always do and finish 11th. But yeah.
They are one of the teams, Fazz, that I'm like you and I'm like Peter here. I just feel I love Roy Hodgson because he amuses me, right? And
Roy Hodgson.
Yeah, and he's kind of like your nan. You kind of love him. He's unoffensive. I like Roy. Do you know what I mean? But I just feel like they have made the mistake, like a lot of sides do. I think Roy is the new Sam Allardyce. He'll get you out of survival for half a season, but he'll fuck you if he takes the full season. I think Palace should have gone with a Potter.
Yeah,
right.
I agree 100%.
Like gone, right, we're safe. Let's go and try and get out of being mediocre.
Well, I think, what you're seeing with that as well, you mentioned before they haven't bought many players in. If you're the owner of Crystal Palace, you're the owners, right? And you're thinking, Roy Hodgson isn't our long-term manager. He saved our asses last year. You can't sack a bloke after saving your ass. But they will be having a plan in place to get rid of him before Christmas. That'd have to be their plan in place. So why would they spend big now on Roy Hodgson players when their plan is to get rid of him? And I think you're going to see that a lot. A lot of these managers who came in to save teams or who are on their last year of a contract, why should the owners spend big money on Roy Hodgson players when they know he's gone, right? And they'll get someone else in, and then in January they'll spend big. That's what I expect will happen.
Mate, no, I agree with you. I just think they're in trouble. And aside that, these are a side that, you know what? I never want Everton to get relegated because they are a staple of the Premier League. Like to me, if you said to me, what is fighting above your weight look like? I'd say Everton Football Club, right? Everton Football Club, because they are the battlers. Now, last year, 17th, Fazz thinks they'll stay just safe. They've got Shaun Dux, the deepest voice in the history of football. 14th is what the book is. I have them 11th, right? Which might shock some people. I think...
I'm shocked.
No, well, I just think Dyche is the man for the job. I think they've lost their identity. I think they've brought in a guy that, to me, is Everton Football Club. 11 men behind the ball. here to steal your point. No, but here to steal your point. They're not going to give up points.
It's beautiful to watch. Shaun Dux, the man who sounds like he smokes the exhaust of a truck most days. I like him. I really like him. I think he's great for football, great for the Premier League. He's the type of guy who openly says, yeah, he'll go down and have a couple of pints at the pub. Like, I love him. I'm with you. I never want to see Everton get relegated, which is why I had them 17th. That is an emotional 17th. But man, geez, we're talking about some gash here. Like, they're the pits, mate. Like, how they survived last season, I got no idea. I got no idea how they survived last season. That is an emotional 17th. I can tell you that right now, because I've got them bang chance gone. I've got Dux, very similar to Company. I've got him going to a different club by Christmas. In fact, do a switcheroo. Crystal Palace. I reckon they'll get Shaun Dux by Christmas.
Ooh. I look to them, and you know the thing that annoys me about Everton, and we discussed this last season, Everton are that side that I think ruin football, right? I've been complimentary of them, but this year, you look at their transfer window, 50 million they've made from sales, and they haven't spent a penny. And Everton seem to do that every year. Make money, positive net, don't bring anyone in. Now, opposite of what I said about the other team, I don't mind Shaun Dux not bringing players in, because I look at this squad and it is a Dyche squad. He likes a small squad. I think there's about 30 players here who can potentially play. I think he's happy. He's brought in his mate Ashley Young, which is Ashley Young at 40 years old, is what Dyche wants. I literally think these side will finish 11th. I actually think he'll stay there the whole year, and then they'll ruin it because Everton will go for sexy, someone like Vincent Kompany, not give him the budget, and then they'll plummet again.
Yeah. They just can't help themselves. They fall into that trap time and time again. Look, 11th, I agree with what you're saying. 11th for me is a bit too generous, but I think, like, what people don't realize, when you're not competing in European football and you've only got the Premier League, they'll get bundled out of cups early. When you've only got the Premier League, having a small squad is paramount. In fact, I remember David Moyes once talking about the importance of having a small squad. And in a lot of ways, having a small squad is far more important than actually what you're producing, bringing people in, because one, everybody's happy because everybody's playing. Two, everyone gets the game plan, quick, smart going. And three, there's no surprises, no shocks. You know, the substitutions are the same every week. The formation's the same every week. You're not throwing things up and down. So I agree in that regard. It is a Shaun Dux squad. I just think they're bang average, mate. I think his squad was way better at Burnley.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's fair. I mean, I look at Everton. I don't mind him. I look at Dyche last year, taking points off Arsenal. He ran City close. Like, he can just literally make them hard to beat.
To be fair, Pom, a lot of teams took points off Arsenal late in the season. All right. So.
I just look at them and I think that they will be tough to beat. I just think that's the biggest thing for me. If you're tough to beat, you win games. Do you know what I mean? We know what happens. We know
100%.
Come January, when teams are chasing the top four, Everton are going to fuck their Champions League aspirations up because they'll get an early goal and fucking close shot.
Yeah, and you are spot on. You are spot on, and that is very, very true. There's always that one or two teams that fucks teams up who are fighting for Champions League football or the league because of they're hard to beat. And again, I know it's not sexy football. I know it's not this, but the good managers always say you start off, you've got a point. You got a point in your bag. 38 points will always keep you up. You got that point in your bag. Don't give it up. So I think Dyche is of that mold. It's not going to be sexy. It's not going to be pretty. But as you said, like us actually with what I said about Crystal Palace, I think they're going to be a team where you're going to try and not really pay attention to them. But then all of a sudden you look and you're like, oh shit, it's mid-November and they're 10th. What? How did that happen? Because I just have draw, 1-0 win, draw, loss, 1-0 win, draw. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, mate, spot on. And I just think, you know, if I was Palace, Dyche would have been who I'd tried to have snagged.
And that's what I'm saying. I think if it does go tits up for Everton early, they'd be looking at Dyche for sure. For sure.
Bournemouth, if they were going to get rid of Gary O'Neill, should have gone after Dyche.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I love Dyche. Like I said, I love him. I love his voice, mate. I want to get him to try and read an audio book so I could just listen to him. His voice is incredible.
Mate, I agree with you. And we come on to Fulham, who Marco Silva. Tell you what, these, believe it or not, at one point in the bookies, they got under $2 to play Champions League football last season. So let that sink in. Because of their form. And do you remember that? Just after the World Cup, everyone was, even United, they were trying not to play Champions League. And Fulham just kept winning. And I think Marco Silva, when we're talking, Fazz, we've been talking about how you get to the next level. Marco Silva is that type of manager that has a brand. It's a respectful brand. And you know what? They're just playing good football week in, week out. It's a solid system. I think they've recruited well. I think Calvin Bassey, I'm biased. He is a former Rangers boy, but I think he is designed for the Premier League. He's tough, strong early. I love Raul Jimenez as well from Wolves. I know he's been poor at Wolves since the head injury, but I think change of scenery, Marco can get the best out of him. I have them 10th again. I know you think's the slide though. So do the bookies.
Yeah.
Why is that, Fazz?
I think Jimenez is a great signing. My 16th is purely based on I'm assuming that Palhinha is going to leave. That's pretty much it. I think he is the Declan Rice of Fulham. Palhinha is worth 5 wins. I genuinely believe that. He is that good of a footballer. I think if he leaves, I don't think they can replace him, and that's where the drop is. If he stays, I'm more leaning towards your 10th, maybe that 11th or 12th. But I'm just assuming he's leaving.
Though. He's basically Haaland.
Mate, nah. I won't have it. I will not have it.
Basically Haaland, mate, rebranded.
Yeah. Mate, GG made me look like a fool, didn't he?
Well, we both went hard on him. I mean, we went hard, and I mean, I'm still laughing that Edward Mendy is now playing in Saudi Arabia after me ruining his career.
Oh, good times. Absolute classic that.
Like I have absolutely destroyed that poor young kid's career. But there it is. But no, I really like Fulham. I think Fulham are, again, they're a good football side. I know Fazz will disagree because he hates them, but great fan base that has been familiarly loyal to them. And you know what? They've had some bad times as well. Like, you know, they've had some bizarre ownership, but I really like what Silva's building. If they can keep Palhinha, like you say, I think they'll be brilliant. But I also just think I like them second chance players like Jimenez. He looked lost, but then again, everyone at Wolves looked lost.
Jimenez is a good signing.
Mate, if he can find 15 goals with Mitrovic, fuck me. I'd say they could be top 6. Yeah,
it's a good signing. But I'd like to just correct you on something. I don't hate Fulham. I nothing Fulham. They don't spend a moment of thoughts in my head, but yeah.
But there's Fulham, and we come on to the first of the big teams for a while, Liverpool, and a team that I cannot stand talking about. But Jurgen Klopp, he had a disappointing year last year. The bookies find them as the team that's going to rise again. You've got them the same. I've got them playing Champions League football. They've lost their captain to Saudi Arabia, as just about half the Premier League has this year. But Liverpool, what are your thoughts on Liverpool? Because I find Liverpool interesting just with their transfer fees, because I feel like I'm back in the 90s, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because they've done business with Litzpig and Brighton Hove Albion. And I'm like, this is fucking Liverpool.
Liverpool. I found them the hardest to place, to be perfectly honest. So when I'm looking at teams making my ladder, I found them the hardest to pick, and I've actually committed an offense that I hate when people do, and I've committed it. So one thing I say, and I say this to my old man a lot, I say I hate when people judge a team based on what they've done compared to what they are. As far as Melbourne, they flake in finals just because they did in the 90s or whatever. Or Carlton, they win flags just because they did in the 90s. I hate when people judge a team based on their history rather than what they are. And I've done that. I've put Liverpool fifth because of what they are, what they've been. Liverpool are just an incredible football club, an incredible team. I can't see them any lower, but shit, I don't trust them. I found them so hard to place. They would not surprise me if they had a season like Chelsea just had. Wouldn't surprise me if they just absolutely capitulated, because all their best players are older. I think Jurgen Klopp is about to explode. Like literally, I think he's going to do something that's going to make worldwide news. And it seems turmoil there. But I've got them fifth because of it's Liverpool. You know what I mean? I found them very hard to judge.
I think that's a good point you make there, Fazz, about it's Liverpool. I mean, I look at them and I just think, I look at their squad and I think it's still a pretty good squad. I don't know what happened last year. And I think that's the hardest thing. That was it just a blip? We know he has them 7-year blues that they always call it, that Klopp's famous for. But it was such a bizarre year, wasn't it? And I look at it, they're still not really linked with anyone, which surprises me, because I agree with I at the moment. I think there is like a semi-rebuild needing here, that I think the squad has never really recovered from losing Mane. Felt like Mane has been such a big loss, because now Salah I think people worked him out. But I do like their acquisitions this year. I took the piss out of them, but Big Dominic comes in, the Hungarian winger. I think he is a terrific footballer, and I'm kind of like you. I just think they're too big a club to implode. But then again, so are Chelsea.
Yes, but I'll say, like with Mane, if you rewind probably exactly 12 months ago when we did this, a bit of self-indulgence between, we both said that the biggest loss in the league was Mane, and the fact that I remember saying, I don't think people really are going to understand how much they're going to miss him. And that proved to be fact. He's a very, very good player. And I said Liverpool, very hard to pick, but they'll find a way.
Interesting. It's going to be interesting. I mean, if you're telling me they finish 12th and they do a Chelsea, I will. Yeah. I will be a very happy man. But we finish with Luton, who are the unknown, aren't they? They're the playoff side. Consensus is 16th now. We've both got them rock bottom, but I'm going to defend them. See what we said about Burnley. This is what gives me hope that I could be wrong about Luton, that they do play you come at us, we catch you on the counter, and that is how they're going to have to play in the Premier League. They are going to have to play 11 men behind the ball and look to hit you on the counter. Rob Edwards is a good, honest British manager, nothing too sexy, nothing too sensational. They haven't really splurged. I do like some of their signings. I do love Thanif Chong from Birmingham through Man United, highly rated. I do like the fact they've taken a punt on some young players. That seems to be a mind in if they get relegated, which we talked about last year, Fazz, with Notts Forest. You've got to keep in mind that if you do get relegated, take this 30 million cash injection and make sure you can get back in straight away. Don't risk it on losing players on a free. So I don't mind them. They're a real unknown, though, aren't they?
Yeah, well, look, the thing that I got excited about with Luton was the fact that they re-signed a lot of their players that got them promoted, re-signed them on contracts, was exactly what you were saying. So should they get relegated again, they're not going to lose them on a free. They'll either stay or they'll sell them for more money. So I think that's a really good move. I've got a soft spot for Luton. There's, I think, about 3 ex-West Ham academy players that play for there in Freddie Potts, Reece Burke, and Pelly Ruddock. I'm pretty sure all 3 of them are there at the moment. Love to see them get some game time. So Freddie Potts, the son of the great Steve Potts, West Ham legend. So I do have a bit of soft spot for them. But I just can't escape the fact that their home ground is in worse condition than the playground at the school I work at. So I just don't think you can survive in the Premier League playing on that. So
it's going to be interesting because I look at this side, and this is a side that I think we can all admit that you want them to stay up, don't you? Of course. I think this is a feel-good story. Do you know what I mean? I think they've recruited, though, well. And, exactly like you said there, Fazz, they've got a lot of young players that were Premier League, didn't quite make it. They've backed that in, which I think is a big tick straight away, right? Because Brentford did it, right? Do you know what I mean? And they've stayed in a long time. Brighton did it. Do you know what I mean? They backed the people that got them there, which I think is worth its weight in gold, to be honest. I think a lot of teams make the mistake, of, we're big time now. Fuck you. You stayed with us 3 divisions. Get fucked. I think that togetherness helps them out because these guys are all going to be living their dream in a week's time. Some of them have played League 2 football with each other. Let that sink in. League 2 football. Now, someone asked in chat who was bottom ranked side. Interesting. Wolves and Forest are the favourites to be relegated with Sheffield United and West Ham, Fazz.
Yeah, West Ham are in trouble. They're in big trouble.
But Luton, I like they've kept this together, and we wish them well, don't we? I mean,
of course.
As a United fan, I know we play at the Kenilworth, and it's 1-0. I've already resigned. It's a 1-0 draw.
I really can't wait for their first filthy 1-0 draw against a big team because it's got to be huge, or a 1-0 win. It's something new. We haven't seen it before, and it's better than the usual. And no offense to these fans, it's better than usual. Norwich up, Norwich down. Burnley up, Burnley down, Sheffield up, Sheffield down. It's something new, something exciting. I'm very excited for them. I think it's going to be good to see. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to end well for them. But look, people take the piss out of me for dining out on West Ham winning the European trophy. Luton fans, dine out on it. You've got 38 games of paradise. 38 games. Dine out on it. This could be the greatest season of your lives. Just live it, enjoy it, because you never know. You never know when it'll happen again. And if you do get relegated, you'll think, shit, I really wish I could have celebrated that season more of being in the Premier League, not fearing going to Old Trafford, relishing getting to, oh my God, my team is playing at Old Trafford. Holy shit, this is insane. Luton fans will be in tears. They'll be in tears all season because it is just something that they haven't had.
Mate, just people need to think about it. Exactly 10 years when they kick off was that they were in the conference. So,
mate,
do you know what I mean? Let that sink in. They were in the 5th tier of British football in the same 10 years ago. So when they kick off their debut Premier League game, there is going to be kids that went to their first games with their dad playing non-league football, and they are about to see the biggest stars in the world for 38 games. And you know what? Stranger things have happened. They could see it again.
And even if they are another derby and only get 7 points, they will win a game. Luton will win a game. There are some gash teams in this Premier League. They will win a game. And you know what?
Probably
there will be
United.
kids. There'll be adults. There'll be grown men like me when West Ham won their European trophy in tears when they say, holy shit, my team just won a game in the Premier League. They won a game in the Premier League. It's going to be beautiful. I just hope it's not against West Ham, but it's going to be beautiful when they win a game in the Premier League.
Trust me, as a United fan, I've got fucking sleepless nights against newly promoted sides. Like, I'm telling you now, when we do this show after we play these guys, I will not even be shocked or angry if we lose because I have seen it before. We will have 92% possession, probably hit the post. It'd be like that game West Ham played against Forest.
Oh, yeah.
Where I left that game thinking,
Mr. Penalty.
how the fuck has that happened?
Yeah. Mr. Penalty, yeah, hit both uprights, the crossbar. Yeah, those are the days. That's Premier League football. But yeah, it's good to see him. I think it'll be good. But yeah, Luton fans, just enjoy it. Just enjoy every second of it because you never know.
Mate, well, thank you very much, chat. You've been super engaging. We will be back next week. We will finish off the last 8 teams by my calculations. 12 minus 20 is 8. And we will preview the first week of the Premier League. So look after yourselves. If you haven't got a Premier League team, find one. And we will see you next week.
Love your work.